Hello my dear friends and my dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Top Lesson for You. Friends, we are discussing about the inner pharynx. The introduction was there and then the divisions of the pharynx. I have discussed about all of them and the features of them, everything. Now as I had told you, I will discuss about the muscles of the pharynx. So here we have the lecture on the muscles of the pharynx. These are the muscles. And in the diagram we will show you, and these are some longitudinal muscles, and same is the case the diagram. Now let us discuss about the muscles. There are four circular muscles, I will say, around the pharynx or present in the pharynx. The first groups are the superior constrictor muscles, then there are middle constrictor, and then there are inferior constrictor muscles. And the inferior constrictor muscles are thyropharyngeus muscles and cricopharyngeus muscle, right? Now, here I have written the origin, the insertion, the nerve supply, and the actions of all these muscles. Okay, so the superior constrictor muscle gets its origin from different parts, right? It gets its origin from the pterygoid hamulus, pterygomandibular wrap, right? Medial surface of mandible at the upper end of the mylohyoid line and side of the posterior part of the tongue, right? So these all A, B, C, D options. So all of them are the origin points for the superior constrictor muscle, and its insertion occurs in the pharyngeal tubercle on the base of the skull and median fibrous. Okay. Then the nerve supply of this superior constrictor muscle is the pharyngeal branch of the vagus nerve, carrying fibers of the cranial root of the accessory nerve, right? So vagus and accessory nerve gives branches to the superior constrictor muscle, and this muscle helps in deglutition. Deglutition means swallowing, right? So the first muscle was superior constrictor muscle, and this muscle here you can see, this is the superior constrictor muscle, right? These are the origin points. Okay, they are the origin points. You know, we have discussed from four different regions it gets its origin, and then the insertion I also told you in the two pharyngeal tubercle and median fibrous wrap, it makes its insertion, and its action is deglutition. So this is the superior constrictor muscle, which you can see on the screen. And then there is the middle constrictor muscle. Here is the middle constrictor muscle, right? It's a little bit fan shape, right? And you can see the superior constrictor muscle is a little bit quadrilateral shape. Quadrilateral means it has four sides, and this one is a little bit fan shape, middle constrictor muscle. So the middle constrictor muscle gets its origin from the lower part of the stylohyoid ligament, lesser cornu of hyoid, and upper border of greater cornu of hyoid. So it gets its origin from different parts, different regions of the hyoid bone. This is our hyoid bone, right? Sorry. Then the insertion of this muscle is the median fibrous wrap. Okay. And what is the nerve which supplies this middle constrictor muscle? Pharyngeal branch of the vagus nerve carrying fibers from the same nerve which supplies the superior constrictor muscle, and the action of this muscle is also deglutition. Okay. Then there is the inferior constrictor muscle, and in the inferior constrictor muscle there are two muscles, right? The thyropharyngeus muscle and the cricopharyngeus muscle. Okay. About the origin, they gets its origin from the oblique line lamina of the thyroid cartilage and the tendinous band between the thyroid inferiorly and thyroid tubercle inferiorly and cricoid cartilage. So the thyropharyngeus muscle gets its origin from here, and its insertion is the median fibrous wrap, and it is supplied by two nerves, the pharyngeal plexus and the external pharyngeal nerve, and also helps in the deglutition, both of these muscles. And then there is a cricopharyngeus muscle, it gets its origin from cricoid cartilage, and its insertion is in the median fibrous rib, right? And it is supplied by recurrent laryngeal nerve. So these were the four muscles, right? The middle constrictor, superior constrictor, thyropharyngeus and cricopharyngeus, both of them are the inferior constrictor muscles. And here I have shown them in the diagram: superior constrictor, middle constrictor and inferior constrictor. Now there are some muscles which are longitudinally present, right? So the muscle, its origin, its insertion and its nerve supply. Look, there is the stylopharyngeus muscle. Its origin from the medial surface of the base of the styloid process, right? Medial surface of the base of the styloid process. And its insertion is the posterior border of the lamina of thyroid cartilage. Okay. What is the nerve supply? It's supplied by glossopharyngeal nerve, which is cranial nerve number 9. Then there is the palatopharyngeus muscle. Okay, its origin is by two fasciculi, anterior and posterior, from the upper surface of the palatine aponeurosis, right? Here you can see this is the palatopharyngeus muscle, right? This is the palatopharyngeus muscle, this one, okay? Its insertion is the posterior border of lamina of thyroid, same insertion. It is supplied by cranial root of the 11th cranial nerve by pharyngeus flexus. And then there is the solfengopharyngeus muscle. Its origin is the lower part of the cartilage of the auditory tubercle, and its insertion is the posterior border of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage, and it is again supplied by the same cranial nerve which is supplying the palatopharyngeus muscle. So here are the three muscles, longitudinal muscles. There is the stylopharyngeus muscle, right? This one is the stylopharyngeus. Then there is the palatopharyngeus, and then there is the solfengopharyngeus muscle, right? So these muscles are present longitudinally. Then what about the arterial supply of the pharynx, right? Pharynx gets its arterial supply from 5 different arteries. It's taking its arterial supply from ascending pharyngeal artery, right? Here is ascending pharyngeal artery. Then there is the ascending palatine artery, right? Ascending palatine artery. Then there is ascending tonsillar artery. This one you can see, ascending tonsillar artery, ascending palatine and ascending pharyngeal artery. And then there is the greater palatine artery. It also gives a little bit supply to it, and the lingual artery also gives a little bit supply to the pharynx. So 5 arteries are responsible to supply blood to the pharynx, and you can see in this diagram that I have shown, right? Then next thing is, what about the venous drainage of the pharynx? So pharynx is drained by some flexuses which are present around the pharynx, and they are called pharyngeal venous flexuses, okay? And about the nerve supply of the pharynx, its sensory nerve supply, look here. And the nasopharynx is supplied by pharyngeal branches of pterygopalatine ganglion carrying fibers from the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. So shortly we can say it is the nasopharynx is supplied by maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. The oropharynx is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the laryngopharynx is supplied by internal laryngeal nerve. So in short, the trigeminal nerve, right, the glossopharyngeal nerve and the internal pharyngeal nerve. So this was all about the pharynx, my dear friends. What we discussed from the beginning, if I'll say, let us repeat a little bit: the anatomy of the pharynx, the definition, the location, the dimensions, the boundaries, the subdivisions, and each subdivision, the nasopharynx, the oropharynx, the laryngopharynx, and then the muscles, right? These are the muscles, the arterial supply, the venous drainage, and the nerve supply of the pharynx. So this was all about the pharynx. Next lectures will be about the anatomy of the larynx, inshallah. So see you guys there. Till then, Allah Hafiz.